Some say that looks are deceiving. And that's actually the case with a lot of presets you buy. Because have you ever bought a preset from a photographer or downloaded it somewhere and the preset didn't look that great on your photos? In this video I'm going to show you how to get good looking photos with presets. Because I built a foolproof Lightroom editing system that speeds up your editing process, gives you professional colorist tools and creates better quality photos. But before we dive in Lightroom, you need to understand why the preset doesn't work. Canon, Sony, Fuji, you name it, all have color sciences. That means they put a lot of effort in the color science of the camera. So the camera colors look awesome when you download your photo on your computer or somewhere, and only for you to instantly change that photo with a preset you bought. And with the result that your photo doesn't look that great. But pro colorists use that color science of the camera to their advantage. They don't work against it. They don't use a single preset like you use, but they use different presets like layers to create a great photo. When your preset isn't working, that is because of one of those, of all of those 4 reasons I'm gonna name right now. The first of it is when you buy a preset, you buy a look. A look is a preset, but a preset is not a look. A look is the last part of your editing phase if you want to create a certain look. But somehow a lot of people think that when they buy that preset, that look is the whole editing of the photo. And there is where the confusion starts with buying presets online. You buying a look, and most of the time you're not buying a full preset setup, you're only buying the coloring of the photo. I will show you in a second what I mean. Second, you buy a post-process, not a pre-process. And a post-process is the part that comes after the photography. So photography is done, and now you start with the process of editing the photo. And also of that is the last part. But the pre-process is very important because the style of the photographer, the way the photographer uses exposure and stuff, and contrast and the shutter speed depends on the photographer. So some photographers will include their pre-process, the way they set up their cameras, which is, I think, is almost mandatory to have a great look in your photos. But still, that photographer has a certain style, and if that style doesn't match with your style, to level the coloring is quite difficult. Well, if you are a pro colorist, you can do that, but if you're not a pro colorist, you probably can't do that. You won't buy someone else's coloring because you do it yourself. And the third reason is gear. Cameras, lenses, filters, you use a polarizing filter, a mist filter, a variable ND filter, all that gear, a flash, no flash, has influence on the photo. So in the pre-process, if that photographer shoots with a mist filter and you are not using a mist filter, you will never get the same look of your photo. Even if you post-process and try to create a mist, it's different from how light goes into the camera or opposite to how light goes out of the camera when you're editing a photo. And the fourth is light conditions. If you buy a preset of a photographer that shoots getting ready photos of a wedding couple inside a room with no lights, only daylight, so only lights coming from the windows, and you buy presets of that photographer because it looks so beautiful, but you're a photographer that shoots with lights on and daylight on, so you get 2 different kind of colors like orange and blue, the preset will never look the same. It's almost impossible to create the same look because you got multiple light sources. Then you need to create the same light conditions as that photographer. But the first thing I do when I walk into a room, when I start shooting photo or video, is turn off the lights. I use the existing light from the windows, create a Rembrandt light, and that fits my style. If I would sell my preset, it won't work on someone that doesn't do that. And it got me thinking, how can I create an optimal edit workflow that works for me no matter what? And let me show you. So right now we are in my Lightroom and I want to show you something important. And first I want to address the problem I told you before. And to address the problem, I use this photo. This photo, and I will reset it, it's completely reset, is a raw photo from my camera shot with a 50mm lens, ISO 400, 1.2, 1/100 of a second. But the photo looks different from normal photos, and that's because I used a mist filter, a very heavy mist filter. I use backlighting. Normal photography don't know like backlighting, but I used the backlighting in this photo. This photo already has a lot of atmosphere. When I would add a preset on this photo, and let me grab a preset. What normal people do, they buy a look, so they add the look. I'll open the exposure a little bit, maybe some white balance, do it like this. You have like a edited photo. Could use some more contrast and stuff, but it's about the photos already edited. So it looks fine. I could do it way better, but it has already a certain vibe with it. Maybe too orange, but okay. If I would use this this style, and I copy the whole style like this, and I go to a different photo like this one. So this person has my own photo, but imagine this person has this photo, bought my presets. I will add my preset on the photo right now. This is how it looks. Well, this is obviously a white balance thing, so we change the white balance and the exposure a little bit. But as you can see, it doesn't look great. It looks horrible. Skin colors look strange. I need to do a lot of stuff to make this photo better. And that's because I just added a look on a photo that isn't finished. That needs to be done something to the photo before I can add the look on it. So let's go into a quick overview of my preset pack and how it works and how you can recreate that preset pack. I use this for all my photos, all kind of photography. I use this same preset pack, always this thing, because my preset is like this whole thing is 31 presets, if I'm correct. I use them on all my photos, and it's not that like I use everything on one photo. No, I use parts of that on a photo. And the great thing is you can buy looks from other photographers and add them in, and I will show them later how you can add those in, or you can just create them yourself and add them in. It's a future-proof way of editing. Because a lot of photographers, they create a preset, start again, build a new one, and that actually isn't very sufficient. This way you have control over your photos, always the same style, but with different looks if you want to. And how does it work? Well, quick overview. We got the basics, and the basics mean all my photos that I import with the base edit. That's this. When I import a photo, it's a base edit that it has given. This base edit is what I like about a photo. This is an instant photo. It's already looking great. I use Canon. Canon has a great color science, so I don't have to do a lot in this photo. If I would wish, I could do, and I will show you later. I could say, well, the white balance is great, so I have an auto white balance function, so it changes the white balance. I could say, well, I don't like the vibrance of the photo. I want to up the vibrance of the photo. Imagine that the photo is shot with a hard sun. I do have a hard sun photo over here somewhere. Probably have one. Well, here, hard sun photo. Do this, and the photo is lose a little bit of contrast, well, you can fix that, but it's better than without the contrast, of course. This was original photo, and this is with the sun filter. Then you got high contrast stuff, not great for a sun photo, but you can use some high contrast stuff, and I will use my example photo, previous photo, this. I will reset it, base edit. I could add high contrast to it. So a lot of times I will have to open up my exposure because I shoot with low exposures. If you talk about a style, I always shoot like 1 stop or 2 stops underexposed. I could say I want to a black and white version of the photo. I use a mid contrast edit, a little bit more poppy in the black and white, or leave even a high contrast black and white. I normally don't use it on people, I use it on other kind of stuff. And an auto lens correction in case the lens correction didn't work. And lens correction is what we see right here. It's the built-in lens correction of Lightroom. When you make a copy of a photo and you see the photo change, it's probably the lens correction. So if you press this, it's fixed. Then we have the masks, because we use masks a lot in photography. And basically, we use the same mask a lot in photography, especially in wedding photography. So if I've got my base edit, almost always you want to do a subject pop. A subject pop means that the foreground, the subject pops out, the background gets a little bit to the background, a little bit less dark. A little less exposure. I could say I want to make my subject a little bit more cool, like this. If it's too orangey, I can desaturate the background. And desaturate background is very important, because what a lot of photographers don't know, especially when you start out as a photographer, is that green is the most dominant color in your photo. Especially summer green, the light reflects, and blue and red gets absorbed by the green, and the green color gets reflected. That's why green has so much data, and it distracts from your photo. When you desaturate your greens, it will instantly look better. This photo right now, I didn't do anything than just press some base edit. I did a desaturating background and a subject pop, and the photo already looks great. Then we got a backlight fix. That's in situations you got like a backlight that there's a lot of light in your backlight and the foreground is not enough light. Background cool. Sometimes you want your background to be a little bit more cooler. A group radial pop. That means when you got a group photo, it will instantly make sure that that group gets a little bit more centered toward the light, and the edges get a little bit darker. Then you got a blur and halation. Looks pretty heavy on this photo. That's because the blur and halation is a little bit too bright here, so you can pull it down. It's not a great photo for blur and halation, but there's a cool effect with the right photo. Then we got grain. If I press here, I get like a 33% grain. Then I got like face retouch stuff. I can retouch the skin, heavy, light. And I'll open up a little bit. Enhance eyes and recover highlights. It doesn't work in this photo because there's no highlights to be recovered in this photo. Then I got special location filters, that means, or presets, and those mean if it's a dinner outside, I will instantly press this and it gets a great edit for an outside dinner situation. Same for the dinner, flash indoor, nature pop, golden hour. I got pre-built presets that work for those occasions because you see a lot of them, those occasions, and you can instantly add a filter and you're all halfway done, or 90% done. If you take this photo shot in my street where I live, and I press the nature pop, it instantly pops out the nature stuff. If you see the previous photo and this, there's a big difference. It's great for nature stuff. It doesn't look that great on people because it's, as you can see here, it's quite saturated, but it's great for nature photography. Then we got the looks. Well, that's what people call presets. Presets and looks is very confusing for people, but just see it like this. Preset is just a presetted setting in your Lightroom, and a look is always color grading. It's always something done with the colors. And these are all looks we can add on our photos. And the way it's built in from the bottom to the top. That's the way you work. So let's dive in the details of every preset, how it works, and how to create beautiful, stunning photos. So you can make it. You can copy my preset tree, and if you think it's too complicated, you can buy them, of course, because it's complicated. And why is maybe a great thing to tell you why are presets so difficult to create? Because yeah, you can press the plus symbol, create a preset, and basically you have a preset and you can sell it. Well, there's way more behind it than you think, because if you're going to create presets, do you want a treatment of profile in your photo? You probably don't know what it is, but it's very important to know if that filter is going to do something with your treatment profile, because it's going to change the raw settings of your camera. So it's very important to know, do you want that? Do you want a mount slider in it? What do you want of all these settings? Which one do you want to include and which one do you want to exclude? Every photo I import is imported with the same, let's reset this on, the same base edit. Now I've turned off all my base editing because we're doing a tutorial. And the base edit is great for most of the photography. So if I grab this photo, this is a getting ready photo of the groom. This photo, in my eyes, is already great. The only thing I would do is crop the photo a little bit. Like this. First thing I do, I will just put on a base edit. And I'm using my color science of my camera positive way, because the Canon camera has a beautiful color profile, I think. So I'm not gonna mess it up with strange color grading. No, I'm gonna use my base edit. Now I can say, maybe I want him to pop out a little bit more, because you know, green is a little bit dominant in photos. So now I could say, well, I want a subject pop, or let's say desaturate background. What now happens is that the background, I'll open up my mask. The background right here is a little bit less saturated and just nuances. And that's the thing about color grading or like editing your photos. 90% of your photos is just working with contrast. and masks. And the color grading part is just such a small part, but if people talk about photography, they talk about color grading. Well, it's just a small part of it. So in this case, I only desaturate the background. You can see right here, if I turn it off, it's way more green. Turn it on, the green is way lower. Then I can do a subject pop, and this way you'll see he just pops out. The background is still there, it's important, you see his jacket, but your eyes get focused on him just because you change the contrast with some masks. And the great thing about these masks is that those masks do all themselves. They recognize the people in the photo. The mask knows what to do. So if I grab the Desaturate filter, it will just desaturate with minus 33. That's it. Nothing else what this filter does is just selecting a person, minus 33, and it's desaturated. Same thing with the pop-up of the background. I will create two filters. First one is a person selection of the person in the photo, and I have an inverted version of this. So when you do a right mouse button, you can choose duplicate and invert mask. That's why that option is available. You can choose duplicate and invert mask, and if you do that, you get the same but then inverted. And in this one, I've just pulled the exposure a little bit down. And this one, I've pulled the exposure a little bit up. I can change it if I think it's too much. I can change the exposure if I like, but it's fine. I know that it works on my photography. This works on all cameras because I know it's just a little tweaks, works on all cameras. I could do more and more stuff in this photo, but I don't need to. I could say, well, I want to retouch his skin a little bit. See right here, it retouches a little bit, and I can say I want his eyes enhanced, and it enhances his eyes. Important is a little bit too yellows, I see right here, but the important thing is that it's all just a click and it's done. I don't have to do anything with those things right here. But the eyes I don't like, so I will delete the eyes. I don't think that you can change the skin, but I don't think it's necessary for him to be retouched. Then we've got the second one, that's the auto white balance. So auto white balance is very simple. If I grab a photo, well, this photo, reset photo, and I just mess up the white balance, and as an auto white balance, it will just create a great auto white balance. It's done. I don't have to use this one to white balance it out. It's already did that for me. So again, my filters are based on mostly on as shot. So that means when I import photos, it is as I white balance in the camera, and when I use auto white balance, it will change the auto white balance. I can still change it around if I like, but most of the time it works awesome. Then we got the vibrance in the photo. Some photos you want more vibrance. This is not a great photo for vibrance. I have to grab a little bit better example. Maybe this photo. It's the base edit, then the vibrance edit, and you can see it if I go over it. It's just a little touch of vibrance. Again, a lot of vibrance creates too much. It's all about nuances. And if you compare this filter, you see it right here. And if I grab the vibrance filter, just here it's like a 33%, so 1/3 more vibrance. Still the saturation a little bit down. You see that there's some differences in the clarity, in the shadows, but not a lot. Just a little bit, so the vibrance becomes a little bit more. Then we got the sun version. And the sun version, let me reset it. So we all know the situation. You have to take photos during the day and it sucks because, you know, sunlight. And you choose the place that has the least sun, has some shade to shoot photos in. Or when you open up your exposure, still there's a lot of leopard spots, how to call them, in the photos. So when you use a sun filter, what it will do, it will just make the photo a little bit flatter. That's fine. But this way, the contrast is a little bit lower and it's just easier on the eye to use. But of course you have to do something with it. So you could say, well, I can do a subject pop, in this case them, so they pop a little bit more out. Again, you could do a desaturate background with them. We didn't do white balance thing. Yeah, white balance. Yeah, great. Then we can add a look. The Lumiere, the beautiful look, I think I created myself. So open a little bit up. And now we have a beautiful look. The white balance isn't perfect. You see there's a bit, when you add a look, it could be that the white balance is a little bit off. So you could auto white balance it, or you can just do it yourself like this. Or you can also do it like manually. And if you do a manual auto white balance, mostly just zoom in on the skin tones like this. And you can adjust the white balance like this for the skins. If you think it still doesn't look great, you need tone curves. Then you have to make adjustments in the tone curves. But in this case, it looks great. Great photo. And I'm very happy with it. There was original photo, and this is what we made. It looks so much better. Then we have the high contrast, and high contrast is perfect for, like, we have a great dinner photo. Here we have a photo that's perfect for high contrast. If you use a high contrast like this, you instantly see the photo just pops out a little bit more. With the contrast, especially when you don't use people on it, it just looks better. You could use people, but then you have to use a photo that lends itself for things like that. So like maybe a photo with like a backlit sun, you could use high contrast. Well, some people like it. It is depending on what you like. But if you use a high contrast right here, you see that it's just a lot more contrast than with the base edit like here. Then we got the black and white presets, and to grab this photo is a beautiful example. The normal black and white works in Adobe monochrome color space, so we will adapt that because all cameras can work in that space, and it already looks really awesome. But don't forget, my filters are still active, and that's a great thing about the way I work. This preset tree, you can stack and layer them. So normally you just change every time you use a preset, everything changes, but this way you can stack everything. In this case, I can say, well, let's just delete all these masks. So we end up with, this is the white balance, the black and white photo normally. Let's fully reset it. So if I use my black and white photo like this, it's fine. It's a great looking black and white photo, but it isn't. It could be way better. So if I would do the base edit, I would do my subject pop, and I would then add my black and white. It looks way better. And to make a copy of this photo, I'll show you. Make a copy. So I see here a copy, and if I delete, or I just delete the black and white, you'll see in the left photo is the same photo, only with the mask. This is without the mask. It looks like a different black and white photo. That's the big difference. So for every black and white, you can use these masks. Color, or for black and white, it works the same. Then you could use a mid contrast. The mid contrast is way more heavy, but in black and white, you can go heavier like this. And you can see this is a mid contrast. If you compare it to the normal black and white, there's a big difference in like darkness and stuff, but it really pops out. And then we got the high contrast, and the high contrast is, you have to be careful with this one because it's high contrast. And the high contrast, and I open my exposure. I've got a keyboard here where I added my exposure. I can open my exposure, but as you can see, it's quite hard. It's a style thing. You could add a high contrast thing, as you can see right here. Maybe you can soften it down with like a skin tone softener, but still it's very hard in contrast. Some people like that, so it's a choice. But it's a choice that's there, but you don't have to use it, but you can use it. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't use it. Most of the times I will use the normal black and white or the mid contrast one. Then we got the lens correction, and this is a great example. This is the photo raw from my camera without any lens corrections. And lens corrections mean that your photo is shot with a certain lens. In this case, it's a 2870 lens of Canon, and every lens has some distortion, has some problems. Like to make it simple, and when I press the auto lens correction, it will take the profile from my lens and adjusting the photo so it looks great. There are no dark corners in my photo. It looks just plain. And I can make it pop again. I can desaturate the background, even though this is a little background. I can add some grain. I can retouch the skin. Just press some buttons, and I can choose a certain look. And I can say, well, I like the Muse look. It's quite awesome. Open up a little bit like this. And that's it. How cool is that? One thing that's very important to notice, this photo is a photo of my drone, DJI drone, and that's a DNG file. And when I import this photo, it will gray out. It still works, but it's grayed out because it's looking for an Adobe profile that isn't there. If I choose this photo, it will use Adobe Color, but this file can't use that Adobe Color, so it uses Adobe Standard. But you still can use all the stuff right here, the auto white balance. You can still use the Vibrance. It all still works. Black and white, but it's grayed out because of the profile. No problem for when you have a photo, like a drone photo that has a different kind of profile. Then the masks. Now, well, a lot of masks I already showed you. I showed you the subject pop. Grab this photo because it's a great example for the subject pop. Subject pop instantly. It's your subject pop. As you can see right here. Makes the subject lighter, makes the background darker. Then we got the subject cool. When I press this, it makes the subject in the photo a little bit cooler. Sometimes people are a little bit orange, under like orange light, and you can make him a little bit cooler without adjusting the whole photo. Especially orange light inside is quite problematic. And you can see right here, this makes them a little bit cooler in the white balance. You can do it in different ways, also with tone curves, but I chose white balance so you can adjust it quite easily. Desaturate background, that works in every photo with a subject and a background. Open this one up, open up. Well, yes, the writer. If I choose the desaturate background, it will desaturate the background. Then we have the backlight fix. I grab this photo. Where is it? Backlight fix. And when I do a backlight fix, it will recognize the foreground and the background. And now when I turn on exposure, you'll see that the background and foreground looks way better than the original photo. This original photo, because they get popped up and the background gets darkened down. So this is a when you use this filter, there's like two parts of this filter, and let's just zoom them a little bit in like this. Yeah, I do a lot of keyboard shortcuts, sorry. The filter does two things. First of all, you have the wedding couple, and second you have the background. Now in this case you see something happening, and that's why I like this photo. The couple's backlight fix is a little bit more exposure. As you can see right here, you can open it up if you like. And in the backlight fix, you'll see that his face is part of the backlight. So I could do two things. I can say, well, so I can subtract, use a brush. I can subtract him from the backlight filter. I do it very quickly. And now he is not part anymore from the backlight fix. I could say, I could subtract, select people. I could invert that mask. There are multiple ways to do this. And now I can see the background. I want it to be less or more light. I can open it up, and the background is the whole photo. You can also say I want only the luminance part, the bright part. This way you can just add it up so there's not enough contrast in the background. Create contrast. Grab them, my subject. So I can light them up a little bit more, like this. And maybe some highlights. Shadows, and they pop off your screen way more. So you have to play around with this so you get the right balance, because this is a very rough version, but it helps you a lot when you got those background situations. Then we have a background cool filter, and it's very simple. The background becomes a little bit cooler. In some cases the background is too orangey, or because of the sun, you choose background cool and it instantly becomes a little bit cooler. A group Radial pop, we need a group photo for that. I don't have a group photo in here. The closest thing I can get to a group is this, two people there in a party. If I do a group Radial pop, see right here, they get centered way more in the photo than normally they would. If you press here, you can see, turn it off. This is a normal photo. This is the inside, that's them. So you can see there's a filter of them. They light up a little bit, as you can see here, just a little overexposure, not too much. And in the outside of the filter, it gets a little bit darker, and just a little bit, but it creates a way to get people more drawn into the photo. Especially when you have a group photo with a lot of people, it will just make it so much better. And you can add this on your auto white balance stuff, on your base edits, etc. Then we got the blur halation. Blur halation is pretty cool. So it creates blur and halation, and blur and halation is actually you can do it with mist filters and stuff, but in this case do auto lens correction, you can create it with a filter. It's artificial, but could be really cool to use. So I do a blur and halation right here, and I'm going to turn down a little bit down. I want the subject to pop. That's very important with the blur and halation. Like this. Maybe a I didn't do the basic edit, sorry. And now the blur and halation isn't very visible, you think, but it is there. But it's very nuanced. If I go here, you'll see the blur and halation. If I turn it off, there's a big difference. On, off, on. And it creates a certain vibe, atmosphere in the photo. When I add a look on this photo, let's say I want to go to add the Elon filter, and we open it a little bit up, you see that the photo instantly get a very interesting vibe. Important to know, now I added the look, because this is a photo that screams for a certain look. I can always go back in history, so here you got your history stuff. You don't really want to do like skip back, you can go to the base, edit, and you lost the Elon look. But one thing that was really great about the looks I've created is that you can add or subtract the look. So the Elon look, if you like, I want to do less or I want to do more, you can do more or less. And that's for every look you got here. So you can choose this look. The analog look also looks great, and looks great because, and I'll show you, that's very important. If I grab the same photo and I reset the photo and I only put on the analog look, see, this is the photo that was edited with all the mask and stuff, and this is the photo without the masks. See the difference, you know, like there's less vibrance, there's less power in the photo just because I added those masks. And the masks right here, you can see I got a blur and halation mask. Well, how does it work? Well, blur and halation, that opens up the exposure, it throws down the clarity, a little bit the dehaze, and that way we create like a mist filter kind of vibe. And as you can see, I didn't do any color grading yet. I didn't touch anything on the right side, then show you something and some exposure stuff. That's it. That's a great thing. When I'm editing, I'm just using those buttons, and that's it. Well, we could add a grain, of course, because we love grain. You could add a grain. You don't see it that great because grain, you need to add it on 100%. You then add a grain like this, you'll see the grain. You see there's grain, there's a lot of grain. And if you like was without the grain, with the grain, you can see it in history. You can always go a step back. That's a great thing. You can see what you've done right here, and you can go back. And now we get a very interesting photo, I think. It was my own photography, so of course I think it's interesting. Then we got the retouch face light, and the retouch face is, I'm gonna press this, you can retouch the face a little bit, and this is very nuanced, just a little bit. Sometimes it just helps the photo, make the photo a little bit better. Just helps to make the photo a little bit better. You can go heavier, of course, want some heavier. I don't like it that much. Sometimes I use it if someone asks, or some photos can handle it, but this photo I wouldn't do much because I think it's too much for this photo, but it's available. You can enhance eyes, and for the enhanced eyes we need some eyes looking at us. We got a photo right here. If you choose the enhanced eyes in this photo, you'll see the difference in the eyes. You can see, go back, forward, back, forward, just a little bit. It's just nuance. If you do the eyes too much, you will see it. So again, this eye thing is just a little bit, if you turn it off or on, just works better if you do it a little bit nuanced. Then we got highlight recovery, and that's a very important one because you'll shoot photos with heavy light and the background, and you want less, the highlights can be a problem. So when you do the highlight recovery like this, it will instantly fix your highlights. And of course you have to do some nuances, but it already looks way better. Imagine if I do a pop-up here. Of course, I forgot my base edit. How stupid of me. Yeah, desaturate background. Such a big difference, and I have to open up a little bit the exposure. This photo looks so much better if you compare it to the original photo. This original photo on the left and the edit photo on the right. For the background, you see the highlight recovery, because this is the important part of this photo, and the highlight recovery is a three-part thing. Luminance range. So the luminance range says which light parts of the photo should I adjust. And you see all the light parts here are red. It will adjust. You also see a bright, and you don't want that bright to be the exposure of the bright to be changed. That's why I've added a people filter, and this people is like a subtraction filter. So this filter says, do not include people with the exposure. You will see it in luminance range, but it's because the people the subtractor is above the luminance range, it won't include it in the final result. That's why you don't see it here. Then you have the linear grade, because I always add a linear grade, because especially with leaves and stuff, sometimes it just doesn't look that nice. You see right here, if I don't use it, the leaves look a little bit strange, like artifacts around the leaves, because it's very difficult to get the luminance right. You can do it like this, and still some light in it. It doesn't matter there's light in it, but it looks just better, softer. How does the luminance range work? Well, right is light and left is dark. And when you create a map, I can create a map like this, and I can see where are the parts that are too much, are overlit or overexposed. So in this case, I would change a little bit up, because there's still a little of artifact right here. So I would do like and this is like, you can soften it up like this, so it becomes way softer. And within that filter, I have said I want to pull the exposure down, I want the highlights pulled down, the contrast pulled down. Also, I set the green colors. If I turn this off, you'll see if I pull the contrast down, it still is very different in color. That's why I choose a point color. So I will just like point right here, so I have the right color, and then I will change the color. I will change the hue, the saturation, the luminance, and variance. So I will make sure that the green fits more the darker greens. This filter is just awesome, because you don't use it a lot, but when you use it, it's so awesome to have a filter that fixes those exposure, those overexposures. And now this photo looks so much better. And the great thing about my filters is you can still add a look. Now we can say I want to create a couture is a quite heavy look. We can add this look on a photo. Still the photo is the same characteristics, but with the look. If you like, I think this looks too heavy, you can pull a little bit down like this, just a little bit look, or more heavier. It doesn't look great, but you could potentially do that. Or you like more, I want to do more the analog look. You see this a little bit overexposed, so the analog look you have to pull exposure a little bit down. You can add a Lumiere look. Lumiere is, you have to create a little bit more brightness. You have to also adapt the white balance of the photo. But you can just add looks to it, and that's the great thing. Then you got location pre-built presets. So when you got a dinner outside, I just press the dinner outside preset, and I'm done. You have to straighten up the photo. I'm not going to put a look on this photo. I can add a look on this photo, but I don't want to have looks on this photo. I'm fine with the photo as it is. Maybe you can do an auto white balance, because the white balance isn't right. That's it. I'm done. And if you have like 20 photos in the same setting, just copy these settings to the next photo and you're done. Then we have a flash indoor situation, dinner flash indoor. When I press this photo, it instantly gets better. It's just a nuance, but just creates a better photo. Then we got a party flash setting. This is a party flash indoor setting. And if you see it, it's powerful. It makes just flash photos just stand out a lot. If you see it before, after, there's a big difference. Just popping out. Then we got the nature pop filter. I like this filter, but it's especially for nature. So let's grab this photo, this shot in my garden. Do nature pop photo, and instantly you get those popping nature colors. Same here, nature pop. Yeah, we got a lot of photos of a stork, because yeah, we got a stork in our garden. With the nature pop, it's very important that it's done in the calibration tool. So the calibration tool right here, that's a tool that not a lot of people use unless you know what it is. Calibration tool, basically you can adjust the camera color science of your camera. So you can adjust the greens, the reds, the blues, the colors that makes up the colors. There's a little hack with it, and it's this hack, and you can make everything pop out instantly. It's just a little photography hack, and it works great for these kind of photos. Just do this kind of nature pop on it. And also you still can go black and white as stuff, no problem. High contrast black and white works still, because you can stack those layers. And then we got a golden hour look. And let's grab this one, press the golden hour, it will instantly make a boom shakalaka golden hour. If you change it up from the previous photo to this photo, it looks like a lot, because yeah, it's golden hour. But I think if you go full golden hour, it could be really cool to make it really gold. In this case, shadows are a little bit down, and the overall photo is just way more powerful. You still can adjust your white balance if you like. can pull a little bit down, but it creates that beautiful golden hour look. And there's multiple golden. You can do this with a golden hour look, like here. The golden hour is in the background. You see, it just will make your subject gradient light. You see the golden light over here, and the only thing I did was the golden hour button, and the photo instantly looks awesome because this has more in it. There's some preset filters in it. You get some, you see there's a lot of stuff done with it. Just pre-built filters, like a one-stop shop kind of thing. But still I can add my looks on it if I want. I can still add something, but it's going to collide a little bit with the previous look because it's already a fully completed look. A lot of photographers struggle with golden hour shots. So that's why the golden hour look is just awesome to use if you don't know how to edit that kind of stuff. Because this photo, this instantly looks awesome. There was original, and then you see this. Great golden hour look. Then we got looks, and I basically showed you all the looks here, and the looks always go on top of the editing right here. You can add a look like this, and you can also add a look and later do like a subject pop or like a base edit. You still can do it, but it's better to start from the top, of course. If you want to edit the photo, no, reset it. There's a base edit, white balance. You can choose if you want to make it black and white, you can say, well, I want the subject to pop. You can choose a analog vibe, a lumiere, muse, all like very cinematic edits. Some a little bit rough, depending on the kind of photography. Use a cinema look. I can always adjust my looks, of course. We can change the white balance of the photo, if you like. Or like the color mixer, of course, because there's a lot of color mixer in it. Or you can say, I want to have a different look. I want like the muse look on it, or like the lumiere look, which I think is great for this photo. Auto white balance, subject pop, saturate background, then like a lumiere look, white balance again. Yeah, like that's better. You got an awesome look right here. So how do I add extra looks? Because you bought a preset or a look from a photographer, and I have to grab something else. Imagine this is the look you bought, and you want it to be a part of the workflow. So it's from another photographer. So the only thing you have to do is to put it right here in between this one, is to make sure that you rename it in the right way. But mostly what the easiest way to do is just to put a rename of one of those looks, the last one, copy the text, cancel, and then you choose the plus sign, create preset. You'll add them in the presets. You gave them the new name because it's look number 7. Look number 7, and we'll call it tutorial. And now it's very important, when I add this look, I don't say treatment and profile. I only choose the stuff I want to use. I don't gonna use effects, because effects is mostly is grain, and grain I will add later. So I turn this off. I will turn the remove off, lens blur, effects, lens corrections I will turn off, the transfer I will turn off, and only detail to color grading, because that's done, color mixer, calibration, tone curve, and I won't exposure and white balance. And now when I make this preset, because now it's still the preset works, I only have chosen the most important things of the preset. And that's the color mixer, the color grading, the calibration, and the curve. Create, and now I just created a 7th look, the tutorial look. So let's say we reset this photo. We do the same thing like we always do with the photos. Import the base edit, we do a subject pop, desaturate background, and now I want to add a look. Say, well, I want to have the tutorial look, and have a tutorial look. If you like, I don't like the desaturated background, you can say, you can turn it off, like this, because I chose the desaturated background, and you have that look. Or you say, I want the subject not to pop, I want the background to be less dark, I want the subject to be less. You can choose yourself. The desaturated background isn't very necessary in this photo, but to show you, this will be your own look or a look you bought. You just add it on this little list, and you have a look that works on top of the rest of your edit. How cool is that? I can imagine you have a lot of questions about the presets. Just ask me in the comments. I will try to answer all the questions. If you want to download or like buy the presets, you can find them in the description below. If you want to create yourself, you can do it yourself. Well, and thanks for watching, and till next time.